Good morning, everybody. We're at the top of the hour and ready to begin. My name is Karen Berger, and I want to welcome you to CASAS National News and Updates webinar. Today is September 22nd, and we have a nice lineup of presentations prepared for you today. Our presenters include Linda Taylor from CASAS, our Vice President of Assessment Development. We also have a number of CASAS staff members who have contributed with videos and will also be assisting us by answering your questions in the Q&A. We are delighted to welcome two of our colleagues from across the country, Veronica Pavon-Baker from Florida and Yanira Chavez from California. They will be sharing some of their strategies and experiences with field testing. Thank you, ladies, for joining, and we're looking forward to what you have to share. This slide shows a few features of this Zoom webinar. The first point is that your microphones are muted due to the large numbers. The best way to communicate with us with questions about the presentation is through the Q&A. We have a great team of people to answer your questions. Any questions that are not answered during the webinar will be added to our FAQs on the website. The chat box is only to be used for technical difficulties with using Zoom. If you would like copies of today's presentation and resources to download, we'll put those links in the chat. This next slide is a little graphic that shows your Zoom toolbars and controls. Of particular interest, all the way to the right, the small green bubble points to a new feature, live transcript. If you click on this button and then click on Show Subtitles, you will enable closed captioning, which will appear at the bottom of your screen. The larger green bubble highlights the Q&A, which we already mentioned. This is where you can post your questions about the presentations. Then going from left to right, there's a button where you can check your audio settings. There's then the chat feature, which, as I mentioned, it should only be used if you have technical difficulties using Zoom. We will not be using the raise hand feature today due to the large numbers in attention. So the next slide shows a closer view of what the Q&A looks like. If you look at the top, there are two tabs where you can click back and forth to see your own questions and answers or to see all the questions and answers. We will be recording this webinar and it will be posted early tomorrow. You can go to casas.org to do today's and previous webinars on the CASAS News and Updates page. Now I'll hand the meeting over to Linda.
Thanks, Karen. Welcome, everyone. Very glad to have you here today. Let me run through the topics for today's webinar. We're going to start with some tips for getting started this year in terms of getting training certificates and knowing your training history. Then we're going to have a presentation about how to add user accounts, since many of you may be adding new staff at this time to your eTests and TOPSpro Enterprise. Then we'll have a short test development update followed by field testing, where we'll hear from two voices from the field, practitioners that Karen just mentioned, and we're going to tell you about very important information about our field testing. Then we're going to look into remote testing a bit. Then we'll be sharing about some new test development, writing an essay test and a language test that we're working on. And finally, we're going to share some hidden gems of the CASAS website. Some of you may have already found them, but in case you haven't, we want to make sure that they're not hidden anymore. And finally, some CASAS news. So to begin with, we'll look at some professional development tips. Dawn Montgomery is going to walk us through these. The first one is how to get a copy of your certificate. Many people often contact CASAS because you might have completed a training module, but you need to tell someone in your agency that you've done that. And so in order to get a copy of that certificate, these are the steps, and these steps are in the PowerPoint. And in just a minute, Dawn's going to show you exactly how to do these. And then secondly, there's a way now that you can see all of your training history. And this slide gives all those steps. And again, Dawn is going to show you how to do that right now. So I'm going to turn it over to this demonstration.
Are you looking for a copy of your training certificate from the current program year? In other words, after July 1? We'll go to training.casas.org and then scroll down to click on the training module that you completed. You will need to enter your user credentials to access the module. Click Login. Scroll to the bottom of the module homepage and click on the Certificate of Completion link to open the certificate web page. At the bottom of the page, click Get Your Certificate, and a copy of your certificate will display in a pop-up window. Click the download icon and save a copy of your certificate to your computer. You can also print the certificate displayed on your screen. A copy of your certificate is automatically sent to you as an email attachment. Although we can no longer access copies of certificates from prior program years, you now can print your CASAS training history from your user profile on the CASAS website. Go to www.casas.org. CASAS is excited to announce that you can now access your training history directly from our website. Just click Login to access your user profile. Enter your user credentials and click Login. Click on your name displayed along the top of the CASAS website homepage. This opens a new web page to display your CASAS user profile. Scroll down to view your CASAS training history. Click the Print button at the bottom of the web page. From the Print Setup window, select PDF to save a copy to your computer. Click Settings and check Headers and Footers and Background Graphics to include the CASAS logo. Click Save or Print, depending on your browser settings. Your saved document will display the date and time in the header and the CASAS logo at the top. At the bottom, the CASAS web address and page numbers will display in the footer. This makes the document readily identifiable so that you can forward this information to your local program administrator for record keeping and training tracking. Hi, folks. The next slide that you see on your screen is about two new training options or training module options. One is not new, the other is new. So last week, we made a major change on our training website that now gives you two options for using the training modules. For certification, you have access to the training modules 24/7. To get a certificate for completing a module, begin with the About This Training content to learn about the goals and objectives of the training and requirements for completing the training. This includes navigating through all content and completing the checks for understanding. This unlocks access to the training completion unit, where you will submit your test security agreement and generate your certificate. After completing the module, we encourage you to return to the module to review the content and download the resources. Now, as a resource, this is what's new. Now you can access a training module anytime, just for information. You are not required to complete the About This Training section. You can jump around anywhere in the module to access the content whenever needed, 24/7. You can also access the resources included in the content, which can be downloaded and saved to your computer and printed directly from the module. The only unit in this option that you cannot access is the training completion unit unless you are completing the module for certification. Offering these two options maximizes the resources available on our training website. So we hope you will take advantage of using the training website and bookmark it as your electronic go-to resource. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dawn. So now we're going to move into showing you how to add users to your accounts for staff. And we have a short video that demonstrates this, which is also available on the CASAS website. So let's watch that now.
This is a demonstration about how to add users to your TOPSpro Enterprise account. This is step 7 of the Going Live checklist. The TE Data Manager is responsible for adding users and enabling access. Data managers must confirm staff have completed CASAS training and certificates prior to adding them as users and enabling access in TE. To add a new eTest user to your agency's TE account, from the menu bar, click Organization and select Users. A tabbed page opens to the list of user records. From the toolbar at the top left of the list, click New. The container defaults to the agency level. User identification will be the login credentials for the new user. Enter a work email address as the user account name. Enter a temporary password, and then retype the temporary password. Click the Group field down arrow to reveal the Access Group lister. Access groups that begin with ET control eTests access. TE groups control TOPSpro Enterprise access. You should only add users to one eTest access group and one TE access group based on the role and responsibilities of the user. All users may not need access to both eTests and TE. For example, an eTest proctor, who is also a teacher, needs access to their students' reports in TE. Select the group, in this case, eTest Proctor, and click the Add button to the right. The data manager must confirm they have a copy of the certificate of completion that matches the eTest access group rights. Click Yes. Using our proctored teacher example, you would also add the new user to the TE Teacher Access Group. Again, click the Group field down arrow. Scroll to select the TE Access Group, TE Teacher Access. After selecting the second access group appropriate for the user's role, click the Add button at the right. Next, add contact information for the new user. The minimum information required for adding an account is the first name, the last name, and email address. No other setup is needed for the new user when added to access groups. From the toolbar at the top, click Save. Click the red X box on the User Record tab and return to the lister. Use the first last name column filter to locate the new user among the list of records to ensure the new user has been added properly. The data manager must give login credentials with the temporary password to the new user. And the first time the new user logs in, they're prompted to change their temporary password. After confirming the new user's been added, click the red X box and close the user's lister. To learn more about managing users with TE and eTests access group rights, go to the CASAS website, click on Training and Support, then click on eTests Online Help. Thanks for watching.
Thanks to Christine Maines from the CASAS staff for recording that video, and that's something that you'll be able to get from today's webinar documents, as well as she mentioned, on the CASAS website. So hopefully that's helpful to many of you. Right now, we're going to get into reviewing the NRS approved CASAS tests, starting with ESL. Hopefully this is very familiar to all of you, but just to be sure, we have the Life and Work Reading 80 series, which essentially includes the beginning literacy forms 27 and 28. We also have the Reading for Language Arts forms 5, 13, and 14, though not all states have that on their menu, so you'd have to check to see if you're able to use that. Also for ESL is the Life and Work Listening 980 series. And all of these tests are approved through February of 2023. And this is the same as for all of the ESL adult ed test publishers. For ABE, we have our goals series, Reading Goals, which is approved through 2025. And we're already working on the next Reading Goals series. You may be seeing some of those embedded unscored items in the Reading Goals forms, and that is how we can most efficiently and appropriately actually field test those without too much pain on your part. So that's in development actively. And then our math goals has been approved through 2023, and we are also actively working on this series. You'll also see embedded field test items for this. So we'll keep you posted as to new developments as this moves ahead. For ESL, we do have 2 new ESL series, one for reading and one for listening. And the final forms, as they will appear when they're approved, are undergoing what we call final form studies. And these we expect to submit for NRS approval next October 1st. There's only one time a year that we can submit any new tests. And so the next possible time after this October is next October 1st. And then we'll wait, hopefully not too long, to find out the decision. So this is very important right now. Both the math goals and the ESL series are dependent now on field testing and these studies. So now I'm going to turn it over to Karen Berger, who is our National Program Specialist and Field Test Coordinator. And she's going to tell you something about how you can help with these field testing studies in order to get these new tests approved.
Thanks, Linda. First, I'm going to show you all a little video that we have that just shows you a quick overview of field testing. Now we are going to hear from a couple of our field testing champions who have generously assisted with field testing over the years. They will share about their experiences with field testing. You'll hear from Yanira Chavez, WIOA 2 coordinator at Burbank Adult School in California, and Veronica Pavon Baker, Director of Adult Programs and Literacy Volunteers of Collier County in Florida. You can post questions you may have for them in the Q&A. Just one moment while this video loads. Sorry, folks, this is just taking a little while to load.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Yanira Chavez, the WIOA 2 coordinator for the Burbank Adult School. I've been involved in the adult education since the year of 1999. My first assignment for Burbank was as an instructional assistant for the community-based English tutoring, CBET. Then in the year of 2005, my journey as the CASAS coordinator began. I remember my first summer institute. My trainers were Jay Wright, Ms. Montgomery, Richard Ackerman, and the list gets long, but I've been given limited time for this presentation. I do want to thank everybody for their patience. We field test for benefits to all entities involved, students, teachers, our school, and adult education at large. Without field testing, there will be no change or improvements in the tools we're using to test. With improved testing instruments, we expect our data to be more accurate, which will be of value to teachers as they will be getting better data and be able to adjust their curriculum to fit the needs of their students. Improvement in education will lead to improvement in accountability and funding. Hence, the school will benefit as well. At Burbank School, we have field tested before. We did not find any challenges, maybe because I was the person who proctored the test, and the sample of students tested was not very large. I can see how being understaffed might present a challenge in field testing, in addition to the fact that not all teachers are qualified to navigate the system. To recruit for field testing, we communicated the need to find volunteers with teachers whose classes we chose, and a small incentive to students who participated in this field testing. A $5 gift card to Starbucks, Target, or Walmart. Nice. I invite you all to be part of a field testing. The experience is wonderful. I assure you, you'll love it. Thank you very much.
Good morning and good afternoon for most of you. My name is Veronica Pavon Baker. I am a CASAS National Certified Trainer and a Florida State Certified Trainer. I want to thank all the agencies that have participated in field testing, and I would like to encourage other agencies to participate in the future. When we talk about field testing, we know that it's a win-win situation. Students build their confidence in test-taking skills. Teachers have the opportunity also to practice with their students. And it is a critical step in making sure that the next test is valid and reliable. In developing tests, CASAS needs a broad demographics of adult students represented. And this is the best way to ensure that we have a valid and reliable test. When I think of field testing, I think of the first time that I experienced administering it. I was an administrator for Miami-Dade County Public Schools. And at that time, it was quite different environment, but it still required some thinking and planning. And for me, planning was the greatest challenge because the dynamics of it, the logistics of getting everyone to the lab. And I found that once I made a schedule to start field testing by class or level, it made it much easier. And so once I knew the day, the time, and the teachers knew their class were going to go at a certain time, they could prepare the students, and it worked very smoothly. So I did think that planning by class or level works much better. To me, it's more efficient and effective. And that was my experiences in conducting field testing. And I think I done plenty of field testing throughout my years with CASAS. And I always remember students' confidence when they finished. They really were very grateful that they had this opportunity to practice with the same CASAS formats as their post-test was going to be. When I say win-win, let's not forget that there is no cost to the schools, and they also get WTUs, and students get gift cards. So please, if you'd like to take this challenge and help CASAS with field testing, call Karen Berger, and I can assure you she will make this process very smooth. So I wish you all the best for the new year, and I hope that we'll meet soon next year at the CASAS Summer Institute. Have a great afternoon.
That was great. Thanks, ladies. So this first slide is about the demographics needed for the embedded field test items that Linda mentioned earlier that you'll find in some of your CASAS eTests testing sessions. The items are not scored and they help us build our item bank for ongoing test development. Since many agencies do not collect demographics in CASAS eTests, they need to enable these critical demographics so we can use the embedded items in our test development and research. So you can help us by following a few simple a few simple steps. We have a short video that shows the steps to enable these demographic fields. I'm not going to show the video now, but we'll put a link to that video in the chat. So on our next slide, shows one of our first studies is our math goals item testing. Many of you may be aware already of this, and we may have already contacted you, but we are field testing math for ABE and reading and listening for ESL. Our need for field testers has become quite urgent. We need thousands of students, and we have developed new test items to expand our math goal series. So we will have 5 levels instead of the 2 combined A, B, and CD levels. We need to get the math items field tested by the end of November so we can create final forms for additional math field testing during the spring of 2022. The next slide, please. We are also field testing the final forms for our ESL series, as Linda just mentioned. These new tests are aligned with the English language proficiency standards for adult education and the NRS descriptors for English language learners. These tests also have 5 levels, and once approved, they will replace the current Life and Work series. Students receive a $5 gift card for each field test they complete, and participating agencies receive 100 complimentary WTUs or TEUs for each modality, that is listening, reading, and or math. There are also a couple of special studies for which students can earn a bonus gift card. All field testing must be completed by June of 2022 so we can prepare our NRS submissions for the fall of 2022. So if you'd like to participate, you may wonder, how many learners can we test? Well, as I said, we need thousands of students. There is no minimum, and you may test as many as you wish. Your participation is a vital part of test development. We use the data we gather from the field test to make sure the assessments are valid and reliable for all adult learners. Many thanks to you who have already expressed interest and have even begun field testing. We hope that as the rest of you are getting back into the rhythm of regular testing, you might consider partnering with us as well. Even if you're unable to participate at the moment, we hope you'll think about it in the upcoming months. You can access field testing opportunities from the CASAS homepage. Lots of great information there. And you can also contact me, fieldtesting@casas.org. And thank you all in advance for your support. Linda?
So now we're going to move into field remote testing. And we're going to begin by asking you some questions. So we're going to use the polls in Zoom for this. And Karen's going to come back for a second and walk you through polls in case you're not familiar with them.
Right. So in order to learn a little bit about you and your testing, your agency, we'll use a polling activity. In polls, you answer the poll and then submit your answer. So this is what a poll looks like in the webinar. You will enter your responses directly on the screen by clicking on the buttons. Then you will submit your answers afterwards using the button at the bottom. And after we review the results, you'll want to close the poll screen by clicking the X at the top right of the poll window. So we'll launch our first poll now.
So the first question is, how is your agency currently conducting classes? And I see people are busily answering. Please give everybody another, I think we're almost there. About half of you have answered. We know there may be some of you, more than one of you from an agency, but that's okay. This is not such a precise survey, but we wanted to get a sense, and we think it'll be interesting. All right, looks like let's show you what we're seeing here. So it looks like 61% of you, the majority, are doing some combination of face-to-face and distance learning. Some doing only face-to-face, some, I guess, doing only distance learning. But this a new combination, we can call it hybrid, is something that is really so exciting. I think, unfortunately, it was precipitated by the pandemic, but it's something that has really moved us forward as a field to experiment with new delivery modes. And this combination could be, what we've heard is could be face-to-face separately and distance learning separately. There may also be hybrid models in which the teacher is doing both together, where at the same time there are students in person, face-to-face with the teacher, and also online. So these are challenging, and we all are going to be learning from each other about how to do this well. All right, so now let's look at our next poll.
Everybody would like to, you want to click the X on your screen so you get rid of that old poll window before the new one comes up.
All right, so everybody got out of the first one. Here comes the second one, which is, how is your agency currently administering CASAS tests? It's either face-to-face or remote testing, or you're not testing. Of course, as we all know, remote testing came about during the pandemic, and we do believe it's here to stay. And now it'll be interesting to see to what extent you find it useful, whether to post-test students who couldn't make it or to test students who are in a distance-only mode. So here we have the results, I think, have come up that we have 55% who are doing face-to-face only, 7% looks like who are doing only remote testing, and then 34% doing a combination. So that's really interesting. It pretty much measures or up with what we were thinking is going on, but interesting to see that many of you are able to do face-to-face testing now, which is a really great development that you're able to be back and doing face-to-face. All right, so now again, if you would close the last poll and get ready for the third and last one. So here we go, I'm launching that. This time it's how much are you testing? Since July 1 of this year, that is in this program year, how many remote tests has your agency administered so far? And if you're not remote testing, then that would be not. So those two answers should be correlated. Let's see. Question is focused on how much remote testing you're doing. More than last year, less than last year, or about the same. Okay. Let's end that and let's see what we got. We have 15% who are doing more remote testing than last year. Maybe you got a late start with it, or maybe you are not able to test in person, or maybe you're doing it for other reasons. Fewer than last year, presumably because you're now face-to-face, about the same. That's interesting. Still some of you about the same. And then some of you have not remote tested this year, perhaps never at all. So, all right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate that information, and we hope that it was interesting to you as well to hear how your colleagues are doing. All right. So please do close that, and we'll move on. I'd like to share with you now some of what is planned for the future for remote testing at CASAS. We are still piloting testing up to 12 students at a time. Some of you have gotten quite good at remote testing with our current limit of up to 5, and so had requested, could you do more? And this would only be if you're comfortable, but we have been working with some proctors in some programs that have tried doing up to 12 and have been comfortable doing it based on their experience with it. So if this is something you'd like to try, you could let us know, and we would like to include you in this is an ongoing pilot where we're still trying to learn more about testing more than 5 and whether it does feel manageable. Secondly, we have been piloting taking the tests on a phone, and this was primarily because many students had reported that they don't have other devices, and this is of course something that came to light very strongly during the pandemic. We are looking for more data on this, so again, if you'd like to become part of this pilot, please contact us at remotetesting@casas.org. And just internally, we are developing an integrated video into eTests that will be also on a mobile app. So this is all very exciting and something that we're moving along with, and we'll let you know when we reach a point where we can try it out and release it. And finally, with third-party proctoring, that is where not someone from your agency, but someone from a third party administers the test. This is something that had been requested, but not on a large scale. So we are not averse to exploring this, but so far we don't feel that the demand for it has been great enough to warrant going forward with it. But if ever that does happen, we will, and we are actually continuing to explore any new proctoring services that come to our attention. So that's our update on remote testing. Now, I'd like to share with you some of the new test development that we are working on. First of all is a writing test. It's an essay in which students write an essay in response to a written prompt. That's a short prompt that's written, and they have 45 minutes to an hour to respond. The very exciting piece of this is that it's auto-scored, that is machine scored, and the results come within seconds, which is in stark contrast to what happens when it's not machine scored. Teachers are so burdened, and it's difficult to come up with the time to mark students' essays, as much as we all would love to know how well they write. So this machine scored option is something that we did a lot of research on in our NADP program, and we determined that it really does do a very good job compared to human scoring, and it's been working very well in our NADP program. And so now we would like to roll it out to make it available widely. And so we are working on delivering that through eTests. To give you an idea, this is what is meant by a written prompt. That is, it's a verbal prompt that they read, and they're on easily accessible topics that anyone would have an opinion about and could write about. So that's an example of that. Just so if you are interested in this, we'll be updating you about where we are with releasing it, and we'll let you know as soon as it's available. The other new test is a language test. It's multiple choice, and this is has a couple of purposes. You may think of others, but the main ones that we envision are that it would screen students to see if they're ready to pass an HSE exam, such as the GED or the HiSET or the TASC, or if they're ready to transition to post-secondary training or work. So as an indicator of their writing to go on to something else. Also, if they are in your program, it would give guidance as to what kind of instruction they need and whether they should be in basic ABE skills in terms of their writing, and could help guide instruction and monitor progress in their writing skills. So we are going to be creating 2 alternate forms at 2 different levels. We're keeping them short, just 20 questions or so, and 20 to 30 minutes. The students that we would recommend for this, because it's not for the beginning levels, but we would recommend that students who are at NRS 3 based on their reading goals score, that is ABE students or ESL students at the upper levels could also take it. The test is aligned to the CCR language standards. And we will be providing diagnostic information, which we think will be extremely valuable to guide instruction. Both of these, the essay, which is going to be only online, they will be on a keyboard that they will enter their answers, and that's how the machines can score it. And also the language test is multiple choice. They'll both be available through CASAS eTests, not on paper. And the cost will be 1 WTU, so that will you can tap into your bank of available test administrations to give these. And students, you might like to give them one or both of these tests, that's up to you. These are optional. We are not at this time planning to submit them for NRS approval, so they would be something to use for the purposes I just described, and could be, we think, very informative to inform instruction, but could not be used for NRS accountability reporting. And we are working on these. We'll keep you posted as to when they'll be available. If you'd like to pilot test, let us know. You can just contact CASAS at casas.org to let us know if you'd like to help. Finally, I just want to share with you that with fairness and equity being so important these days, that CASAS does have a fairness and equity policy that's on the CASAS website. The majority of our fairness and equity takes place during our test development process, when we have independent reviewers take a look at the bias or any possibility of bias in our test items. We also do some psychometric analyses to determine bias. And we look at, in general, at the scores and make sure that there's nothing going on there. So this is just to let you know that this is something that we have. And if you want to know more about it, it's on the CASAS website. So now we come to this section of hidden gems of the CASAS website. So I'm going to go to the CASAS website and take you to our homepage. Hopefully you can see that. On the right side of the CASAS homepage, there's a column called What's New. And the biggest thing under What's New is remote testing. Hopefully no one can miss that. That's not a hidden gem, but that is a gem. And please do go there for anything at all. All of our resources about remote testing are there. Also, for these monthly webinars, the news and updates webinars link will take you to the page, and let's go there and just see that this is where you would have registered already, but in case you didn't scroll down, you can see that for all of our past webinars, we do have the contents of those webinars with timing marks, so you can get right to where you want to go. Like last time we talked about the station registration code, so you can go straight to that in the recording. And so I encourage you to take a look in last year, over the past year, we did do a lot of sessions on remote testing and have done a variety of other kinds of sessions. So now back to the home page. I want to share with you where, well, actually, just before we move from the what's new, here's where you'll be able to see the field testing opportunities. So very much encourage you to help us with that and the fairness and equity statement that I just mentioned. Now we can go over to the left side where the CASAS catalog is, the Summer Institute, and let's go to the online training page. And here is where we have our training modules if you need to do your certifications, which are part of a requirement for using CASAS eTests. And then if you scroll down, of course, you'll see how to do these modules depending on whether you're doing eTests or paper, or if you are a teacher or anyone who would like to learn more about how to interpret the test results. This module is for that. Remote testing. If you're interested in our WSCS program, definitely also the citizenship interview test, which is mostly used in California, but it's not limited to California. And so we have talked in previous webinars about this new feature where we have all of our help documentation and videos in one place. And here, if you click on this, it will take you to this page, and it is organized alphabetically. So if you scroll down here, all of the A's are listed, and this alphabetical listing will show you, I mean, this is where you can get, and we tried to multiple code some of the entries so that, you know, we may not have thought of all the ways that you might get to something. Let's check out H. That will take us to the high school equivalency tests. And this is something where we have the information about how to, using on the goals series, we have the readiness to pass the high school equivalency tests. So that's how you can learn about that. If we go to L, there are a lot of things here about listers. And this is a hidden gem of the CASAS website, is we have low-level literacy curriculum modules that are free. And I would encourage you to explore those if you're not familiar with them. Let's go to S. And here, if you're not sure how to find the sample test items, this is an easy way to find them. If you want to scan, if you're using paper, here's where all those help documents are. If you want to use the Rolling Hills simulation server to try out some things in TE, this is how you can get to that. So please do take advantage of this way that you can find these resources on the website. All right, now back to the home page. Let's go to Summer Institute. Here you can see that we did have our National Summer Institute this year in June. It was virtual for the first time. And if you attended, you can still go to the Whova platform and look at the offerings there. There are some videos that are available still from 2019, if you'd like to take a look at those. I just want to point out that our Summer Institute for next year is June 14th to 16th, and we are planning to make it hybrid. So if you can attend in person, it's going to be back at the Town and Country Resort in San Diego. It's completely renovated, and it's really, really would be so wonderful to see everyone in person again. But if you cannot make it, and we were so delighted to see so many people from all over the country at the virtual event in June. So we are going to make it virtual as well as in person, a hybrid. So you'll be able to attend virtually as well as in person this coming June. So please save those dates, and we hope you'll be able to attend. And then I want to let you know that we are in the near future going to be uploading many of the sessions, not the trainings, but many of the workshops and panels from this year's Summer Institute to make them available to anyone, whether you attended or not. So that's something we've just started working on, and presumably by the next month's session, we will be able to, you'll be able to access those. So hopefully this has given you a good sense of some of the things you hadn't seen before on our homepage. And so I do encourage you to spend some time there. You can easily use these tabs on the left and explore the buttons at the top. Oh, one more thing I want to make sure to show you is the social media newsroom on the top right. And that is where we have the newsroom headline stories. We have, if you look on the left, we have success stories. These are programs that have told about their best practices, about students that have done well and programs that have done well, all kinds of success stories. And if you'd like to submit one, we'd welcome that very much. Also, we have a YouTube channel. And this is really full of resources. The news and updates are here in case you can't remember how to find them. Also, I want to point out that if you scroll down, we have the Introduction to TOPSpro Enterprise that was recorded on July 21st. So this is a very, very useful introduction to TE. So many, many resources here, so please do take advantage. All right, now I want to go back to the PowerPoint and share with you some CASAS news. We do have live facilitated training versions of our training modules. And if you click here on the CASAS website, you'll see how to access them. The upcoming ones are listed here. Just this week, Module 4 will be presented live. If you prefer that to the self-paced, you can always do the self-paced, you can do both. We have Module 1 on October 5th, October 12th, Module 2, and as we were saying before, you can get the certificate of completion. We have something fairly new that we're very excited about. We have what we call TOPSpro Enterprise or TE network meetings open to anyone around the country. And they focus on NRS guidelines, tips and tricks that are from accomplished TE practitioners, so they can share what they've learned, some of the ways they've gotten around and gotten proficient at TE. Some features such as the proxy wizard and test results reports. Also, you'll have an opportunity to talk to TE data managers and CASAS assessment coordinators from all over the country and share best practices for testing and data collection. We also encourage you to come with questions. So because your questions will drive the session, anything that's on your mind, we're ready to address. The next one has not been scheduled yet, but it will be on a Friday at 9 Pacific, noon Eastern in October or November. So if you keep an eye out in the What's New section, you'll see when that will be. The office hours is something we're continuing. They're not every, but many Fridays. I believe we're doing it twice a month these days at 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern. Again, you can see the schedule there, and this is a way to get answers to any questions of any type. We have a variety of staff there, and again, your questions drive the session. So please, if you'd like to attend that, please register and attend. Our next one of these sessions is on October 20th, same time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 Eastern. So please come, and we will have some new information to share with you. Here finally are links to our different departments, which if you use, then we have staff ready to answer either on email or we'll contact you. So please take advantage of these ways to get answers to your questions in these various areas. So thank you all very much for attending. We hope this was a helpful session, and we will stay on a little while longer if anyone has any additional questions. But for now, we're going to close the formal part of the webinar. And again, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day to learn some more about CASAS.